his vision of the future in his book, The Economic Singularity. So if the machines and computers do all the jobs, what do we do with our time, and what do we do to get money?
I think if we had just a continuation of our current system with universal basic income, which, as you say, gives everybody pretty much the same level of income, there would still be a small number of people who own the AI, because the AI is going to be the source of all value in the economy. They will therefore pretty much own everything else as well. Now, we know who they are. They're called Larry Page, Sergey Brin, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and so on.
So all the big tech company bosses.
The big tech company
bosses. Who are already
bosses,
stinkingly rich already.
hugely rich already. And not only will they have an amazing stranglehold on assets, they will also have privileged access to a whole lot of technologies that are going to be coming forward, because technological progress isn't going to slow down, it's going to speed up. So every month, initially, every week, possibly every day, there's going to be a major technological breakthrough which will radically enhance the physical and cognitive performance of a human. And the people who have privileged access to that, whether they want to or not, are going to diverge into another species. We're likely to see a fracture of the human species into two groups which are starting to be called, and this is a slightly brutal phrase, the gods and the useless. So most of us, me included, will be in the unnecessary app. We won't work, we will get universal basic income and probably quite a nice living standard, but we won't be able to increase our wealth because we can't start businesses, because machines do everything better than we can.
But hey, why would we want to? If we have a reasonable standard of living and we don't need any more money, then why should we want to work? But what do we do with all that time on our hands? We're not leaving the house at 7 o'clock in the morning, getting a 2-hour journey to London, doing a day at the desk, and then coming back again and getting home knackered at 7 o'clock in the evening. What are we going to do with those 12 or 14 hours we're out the house?
That doesn't worry me too much. I think people will find useful and enjoyable and stimulating, fulfilling things to do. After all, if you think about, I'm sure you know lots of retired people who say they've never been busier and don't know how they managed to fit a job in before. Also, if you think about aristocrats, for centuries they didn't work, most of them, and they didn't all die of despair. You know, they found interesting things to do.
For themselves or for the greater good? Surely there should be an element of, if you haven't got to lift a finger and you're given this money, you should do something that contributes to the society.
And I'm sure that will happen. You know, humans are quite strongly altruistic. You leave humans alone, they tend to do good things for society. A lot of people, some people are just wrong-uns, but most people are quite constructive.
Yeah, but there's a lot of wrong-uns though, and would they take advantage of that?
Well, that raises a whole interesting other debate about the cost of killing 1 million people, which is coming down very fast, and what that does to privacy. But let's not go there.
I don't even understand that sentence. Yes. Okay. Come back to that.
The propensity of people to want to do things that are constructive, I think, is more strong than the propensity of people to want to do bad things.
Will we have, just simply, Callum, too many people on the planet?
No. The planet can bear an awful lot of people, and as technology improves our efficiency and our sources of energy, the planet can stand a lot more people.
What about the inequality? You know, if you live in Africa and you have to walk miles to get a bucket of water in the morning and then walk miles back, it's this kind of thing that you're talking about now. When is that going to touch your life?
I think it will lag slightly in the developing countries, but not that much. If you look at how China has gone from being a country essentially populated with very poor peasant farming people to being a country with a huge middle class in 20 years or so. Same thing can happen in Africa and Latin America with the introduction of AI and the introduction of machines which are very efficient and do all the things that we can do better. I think those countries will catch us up pretty quickly.
Okay. Is there something else you've got in your back pocket you're going to spring on me now that's going to freak me out? Because I'm already pretty freaked out, because this is such a huge change to the way humans do things in such a short space of time. That level of change, that rapidity of change, can really mess with people's minds.
Well, we could talk about the simulation hypothesis, but we probably shouldn't go there. But what I do think we ought to do is just explain why this rapid change is happening. People need to understand the concept of exponential growth. What's happening is that computers are getting twice as powerful every 18 months or so. It's known as Moore's law, and there's lots of debate about whether that's going to continue and for how long for time, but the upshot is it is going to carry on for the foreseeable future. Now, when you double something every so often, you produce incredible growth. So, for instance, if you take 30 normal steps, you go 30 yards or so, 30 meters, I suppose I should say. If you take 30 exponential steps, your first is 1 meter, your second is 2, your third is 4, your fourth is 8, and so on. In 30 steps, you get to the moon. Although actually, strictly speaking, you get to the moon in 29 steps, and the 30th step brings you all the way back home. That shows the power of exponential growth and how it's backloaded. Things look fairly slow at the moment, and then in the future they suddenly get very, very, very fast. That's what's happening with technology. That is why a year ago you didn't hear about self-driving cars, and now they're all over the place.
I've driven one. It wasn't self-driving. It helped me drive.
Yeah.
But the next step is that I can put my feet up and watch something on a screen.
And they didn't exist at all in 2004. 2004 was when DARPA ran a challenge to get tech companies to start to produce self-driving cars. And in that first challenge year, the best car that could be produced was a Humvee called Sandstorm, and it got stuck on a rock after 7 kilometers. That was the best it could do.
That was 12 years ago. And think, in our lives, what genuinely changes in 12 years? Okay, maybe your kid becomes a teenager where it was a baby before.
Exactly, and now now they are able to drive themselves.
Okay, leave us with a thought to send us on our way. I mean, is your thinking quite out there, Callum, or is this what a lot of people involved in your kind of work are thinking and knowing?
The idea that we're all going to be unemployable in some short number of decades is fairly conventional wisdom in Silicon Valley and among people who think about the future. You might call them futurists. It is not yet mainstream thinking among traditional economists. They believe it's the Luddite fallacy. Automation simply creates new jobs because it creates more wealth, and they think that's going to happen again. They haven't caught up yet to the fact that this time the machines aren't replacing our muscle power, they're replacing our cognitive abilities. So it's an idea which is slightly on the fringe if you think Silicon Valley's fringe. Silicon Valley is what's changing the world, but it's going to become mainstream in the next year or two, I think.
There you go. What do you think of all of that? Callum Chase's book, The Economic Singularity, speaking to me earlier.